Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Guest Flex. Today, we are having on Bill Lessard, a poet/writer.
My name is William Lessard. I'm a publicist and a writer.
First, can we have a bio?
I'm in New York. I'm in Peekskill, New York, to be specific. Peekskill is about an hour north of New York City, and it's right on the Hudson River. Well, I talk to cool people like you, but more specifically, what I do is I do publicity for a living. What that means is I get people to write about people and companies that I think are cool and more people should know about. That's what a publicist does. I specialize in technology. I've been working in tech for more years than I care to admit.
Publicity, public relations, essays, and poetry. If there are other styles, we could talk about those too. Let's start with your poetry. You've been published quite a lot over the past year or so. What are some of your personal highlights for those publications?
I guess the biggest highlight was getting published in the American Poetry Review. The American Poetry Review is a very prestigious magazine. It's published monthly. There's a lot of fancy people who are in it. I submitted something to them a while ago. It took them a while to get back to me. Most of the time when I submit to these kinds of magazines, they always just say, no, we don't want this. This is not the right fit and all those kinds of things. But on this particular occasion, they said, we love this. And lo and behold, 6 months later, I got the magazine in the mail. You know, I take it out, I'm looking at it, I'm like, where is my piece? They said it would be in here. And then I looked on the back cover and there it was on the whole back cover of the magazine. You know, that was a very big highlight for me because I didn't start writing creatively like that until much later in my life. I didn't have the courage to, you know, send the stuff out there and work hard and get all that rejection. And, you know, I wasn't trained like a lot of people. You know, a lot of people go to school and they specialize in this sort of thing. And it's kind of like, it's like if your dad said, hey, I want to join the San Francisco Giants. And then he gets on the team and hits a home run. It was kind of like that for me, Margot.
Poetry can seem like a tough nut to crack for a lot of people. What advice can you offer that might either increase poetry's audience or at least how poetry is understood?
Well, poetry is not something that's really difficult. People make it out to be something difficult, but it really isn't. It's really just saying the right things or the right thing at the right moment. It's like if you're at school, Margot, and you have a friend and your friend is upset about something that happened, or maybe you're upset by something that happened at school or something that happened on the internet or whatever, and a friend of yours just says something very simple to you, and it turns out to be the exact right thing to say. So poetry isn't difficult, but it's a matter of getting lucky and saying those right words or finding those right words and putting them in the right order. And that's what it is. And the advice that I would offer somebody who might be interested in this sort of thing, try to look at the world around you and make poetry out of that, you know? Because if you look at the world we live in today, your friends may be sending you a message on the computer, maybe there's some email from school, maybe there's like an advertisement that you see scrolling across your screen. There's all this different type of language, and it's all coming at you. So if you think about those different weird sources, that's kind of what it's all sort of poetry, and you have to try to make a poem out of all of that stuff. rather than think about what you're learning in school. It's more about creating poetry that's based on the right now rather than what was. You have to make stuff that relates to the world as it is today. Does that make sense to you?
Where do you think the power of poetic language comes from?
I think it goes back to what I said in terms of what I think it is. I think it's the power of it is targeting what people need to hear and also maybe what you need to hear. Because you're right, if you're really going to write a poem, you think you know what you're writing about, but if you succeed, the poem ends up teaching you something you don't know. The poem ends up teaching you something you don't know. So I feel like that's the power of it, the power to get beyond a lot of the nonsense in normal life and teach you something that you don't know.
For poetry, is the choice of a word more important than where it was placed?
I think they're one and the same, because it's all about, if you think of a page, whether it's a printed page or the screen, the words are all on the screen and they should be doing something. And the right word should be the right word doing something in the right place. So I feel like they're both the same thing, Margot.
What about essay writing? My dad says your recent essay about The Sopranos was excellent. How do different writing forms cross over for you?
That's a really interesting question. I kind of view writing essays as kind of like, it's like playing a acoustic guitar as opposed to playing electric guitar. So maybe the electric guitar is a lot louder, but the acoustic guitar is a lot more intimate. Maybe it's a little more informal, looser, so that I don't feel as tense. I don't feel as nervous, the way I would trying to write a poem. So to me, it's both the same thing, but it's kind of a matter of how it feels as I'm writing it, whether it's looser or more constrained.
Question 6. My dad says that you have excellent musical taste. What are you listening to these days? And how does your musical listening find its way into your writing?
Well, I view music as the highest form of art because you don't have to know language to appreciate it. Like if you write a poem in English, somebody who doesn't know English isn't going to understand it. But if you create a piece of music, everybody will be able to listen to it and appreciate it. So for me, I love music because it gives me that ideal that I aspire to, that universality in my writing.
Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Margot. You have a nice afternoon.